Hello, everybody. Good morning. I am so happy to be back on here. I feel like I've been doing these streams a lot this month. Like, I think I've been doing one every week. And it's been such a fun way to start off every weekend, just sitting with you all and getting some work done. How is everybody doing this morning? Hi, Willa. Hello, when you watch the replay, I'm so happy to see that you're going to be writing along with us after we finish our live stream. That's awesome. Thank you. Hi, Micah. I think good afternoon. If I remember correctly, it's usually around 4 o'clock in the afternoon when you watch these. So good afternoon. Hi, Piper. Oh, oh, I'm so sorry. This must be so early for you. Thank you so much for coming to this stream anyway. And thank you for setting an alarm. I love the dedication. We're going to get a lot of work done. We're going to make it worth your while. Hi, media attorney. I'm so glad that you could join us. Hi, Miranda. Yes, I'm so happy to see you again, too. I am so happy you all are here. I have a lot to do this morning. I actually just the day before yesterday, I got my COVID booster, and yesterday I was a little bit out of commission. So I missed a day of editing yesterday, and I'm really, really ready to dive back into it now that I'm feeling better. I also yesterday kind of got inspired to like create a bit of a series Bible in Notion. I don't know if any of you use Notion, but I'm like trying to learn the basics of Notion to like try to take all of the stuff because now that I'm getting deeper into this series, I always feel like I'm worried about contradicting myself in some scenes or remembering like little things that I dropped in book one or book two. And I have a bunch of like notes and Word documents with all this stuff together, but I think it would be very helpful to have everything in the same place. So I'm also going to maybe play around with Notion today if I'm able to get the chapters that I need edited done. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. What are you all going to be working on this morning? Oh, thank you so much, Miranda. Yeah, no, I feel a lot better today. I thought that I would be okay after it, but I ended up like I was okay for most of the morning, and then at night I felt a little bit tired and achy and gross, and then this morning I feel okay. So I'm happy I didn't get hit super, super hard. But yeah, I definitely yesterday I was like, why does everything feel like it's bruised? It felt so achy and gross. I'm using Notion for my historical fiction story I talked about on the Halloween stream. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people use Notion for outlining and stuff. Like I was chatting with Sarah Sutton the other day, and she was mentioning how she started using Notion, like the calendar features in Notion to organize the timelines of all of her books. So I thought that that was really cool. So I'm going to definitely try doing that. And like, I don't know, because like, I think Notion is such a weird cool platform that you can do so much with. It is a little bit daunting to dive into it because I think you can kind of create whatever you want it to be. So I have to figure out like how I'm going, like what I want it to look like, and then how to actually make it what I want to look like. So it's cool. There's a lot of freedom with it, but it's also like a little bit of a learning curve, I think. Yes, it's called Notion. I'm not exactly sure how to describe what it is. It's like an organizational platform. If anybody can describe this better than me, definitely drop it in the comments because I don't really know what I'm talking about because I'm still super new to this. But I'm pretty sure like you can put to-do lists, you can like it's kind of like building your own website with a bunch of different pages, but it's your own private thing. And it can help you like consolidate everything that you would like otherwise be like writing in notes or like writing in Word docs. And you can like use calendars, and you can put to-do lists, and you can have like web pages that link to other web pages. So if you have like a series Bible, you can say like, in I don't know, like you can link to a character maybe in your series Bible, and you have another whole web page, like just stuff about that character. It's really cool. And you can do it. It's like not only for writers, there are a ton of different ways you can use it, but I like literally have a tab pulled up that's like the basics of Notion. Let's like walk through it on like my Chrome screen right now. So I need to learn a little bit more about it before I start talking about it and explaining it because I'm not ready to teach it yet. But yes, yeah, it is. I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna be really cool. Like I said, I'm not sure if I can be on this stream for the whole time because I'm baking cookies with my family today, but happy writing. Oh, yes, well, happy writing. Thank you for popping in the beginning. That sounds very, very fun. I hope that the cookie baking goes very well. I also I plan to have these like cool holiday festive things for the stream today, but I didn't really know what to do. I couldn't find like holiday timers that would be really fun to include. So I'm just doing the normal writing sprint thing, and I put a couple of little emojis on the timer though, little graphics in Canva. Miranda said, "I never thought of that. I'm going to do that too." Yeah, I think that that would be really cool. That's actually like how I'm plotting out. I printed out a calendar and I was like handwriting in the calendar to plot this next standalone thriller that I'm working on because timing is super important in that book. Um, but I think doing that on an electronic version of a calendar would be a lot more useful because I could access it in multiple places. Piper said, "I finished my novel. Now I'm going to write horror stories." Oh, that's so exciting. Congratulations on finishing your novel. Are you like giving it some time before diving back into edits? Where are you in that process? I'm Googling it right now. Yes, Notion is awesome. I am very, very excited about like learning how to use it. It's going to be really fun. Oh yes, good. An explanation of Notion. Notion is a productivity app that allows you to organize anything you want. I use it for to-do lists, class note organization, my character descriptions, scene organization, chapter outlines. Yeah. So this is a much better explanation of what Notion is than the one that I gave you. Yes, it is a productivity app. It's really, really great for organizing stuff, and I'm very excited to get started using it. Cool. So how are we feeling? Do we want to like start doing our first sprint? How are we feeling? Like, do we want to just start with 15 minutes and build our way up from there? I found that doing that, like, I always find that the first sprint, I'm always like a little bit groggy, a little bit tired. Like, I never get a ton done during the first sprint. So I always like keeping the first one short. And then once, like, the juices are flowing or whatever, the neurons are firing, like, we can make them a little bit longer. Miranda said, "I'm writing chapter 2 of my story today." That's very exciting. I'm editing chapter 12 of my story today. I like the other day deleted 10,000 words out of the manuscript because in the original draft, my characters went to do the thing that happens in chapter 12 and they had to like travel to this place to do it that was very, very convoluted and difficult. And I like my developmental editor was just like, they don't need to travel, just bring the thing that they're traveling to close by. Like it doesn't need to be so far away and it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to go so far away. So I cut out that big chunk and I'm just like starting chapter 12 right at the time that the thing happens. And it was very, very satisfying to see my word count drop by 10,000 words, but I'm sure that I will be building it back up as I add all of these subplots that I want to add. Piper said, "I'm going to give it time before I edit." Do you edit books right away? I usually give it some time too. I find it best to give myself a little bit of distance. Usually I'll give myself like 1 to 2 weeks. 1 week is like usually not enough time, but if I'm on a deadline, I usually can't stretch that out too far. Usually, yeah, I'll give myself about 2 weeks and then I'll work on something else in the meantime. For They Whisper, I gave myself 2 weeks before diving in and I like did it very slowly. I just like started with like small changes and I didn't like really, really jump into edits until about like 3 weeks after that. Because space really does do wonders for being able to see your book really clearly. Miranda said, "I'm struggling with moving on from my first chapter. I want it to be really good but accurate to history." I think I remember what you were working on. As soon as you say it, I'm gonna remember. I vaguely remember you talking about the historical element to it, but if you could remind me, that would be awesome. Um, any tips on not stressing over making the first chapter perfect? Just don't. I mean, this is really terrible advice. This is such stupid advice, but like, try not to. And especially if it's like an early draft and you haven't written chapter 2 yet, just like write something as chapter 1 and move on to chapter 2 and just try to continuously like put something on the page. And then when you come back and like do your rewrites and edits, you'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly after taking a little bit of space from it and like critically analyze whether you want that to be your first chapter. Because every single time I've written a book, my first chapter that has been in my first draft has not ended up being my first chapter in my final draft. It always changes. So just choose a starting point that like feels right to you in the moment for jumping into the story and try not to stress about making it perfect until you're like in the editing phases. And also nothing is ever going to be perfect. There are a bunch of ways that you can do anything relating to fiction because it is an art form and there is no one perfect way to do anything. So, it's again, terrible advice, but try not to because you'll definitely have a chance to fix it later. Yeah, I remember for They Whisper, I started out literally in the same scene that book 1 ended, like the next piece of dialogue that would have been said at the end of book 1 was the first line of book 2. And I submitted it to my critique group and they were all like, "We're so lost. We have no idea what's happening. Like it's been a while since we figured out what happened at the end of book 1." So I had to like completely redo it and now like the first chapter of book 1 is actually told from like a completely different character's point of view in like a different place in a different like I don't know, like I had to shuffle everything around. But it didn't happen in the first draft. So you have time to mix around your timeline and decide how you want to um, start your book. It's about a Japanese American who searches for her father while running away from the government because she steals the documents. Okay, yeah, I do remember you talking about this. Okay, very cool. Shall we start our first sprint? I have set a timer for. Oh, I actually haven't set it yet because I still have it left over from last time. Now I've set a timer for 15 minutes. Um, oh, and oh, yes. Okay, yes. Very cool. Yes, now I remember. Thank you for jogging my memory. Um, all right, I'm gonna share the timer. Um, and make sure that I share the tab audio. All right, cool. Um, Happy writing, everybody. I'm gonna press start and I will see you after this warm up sprint. Happy productivity. Alrighty. How was that sprint for everybody? I feel adequately warmed up. I did not write very much. I have to like the section that I'm working on now is a bunch of chapters that used to take place in a completely different location, and there used to be a lot of other stuff happening in order to get them to that location. But now that I've cut out that location and cut out a lot of the terrible logistics, I can streamline it. So I'm just like having to go through and rewrite stuff and cut stuff and like turn it into something completely different than it was. So it's not like a lot of content production, but it is, and also content deletion. It's it's editing. It's fine. But what I did in that sprint was write a new opening to the chapter, and I got a whopping 155 words. So productive. um, yes. I. How was that for all of you? Was that a good sprint? Yes, I am in love with that timer sound. That's gonna be the new staple on this channel, unless anybody has any objections. I think it's hilarious and always brings me joy after we finish sprinting. Um, so a couple of people joined us during that sprint. Lizzie, hello. I'm so glad that you could make it. Um, Lizzie said they were currently outlining the rewrite of the Christmas romance they wrote last year. That's awesome. This is also a good time for Christmas romance. I am obsessed with Christmas holiday movies, like Christmas romance holiday movies. I watched The Holiday the other day for the first time, or not the other day, but like 3 weeks ago, and absolutely loved it. I also watched Christmas Inheritance about 2 weeks ago and didn't like it as much. If you have any like recommendations for like romantic, cute Christmas movies, drop them in the comments. I also, as soon as like after Christmas, in that like period between Christmas and New Year's, I plan to read a bunch of Christmas romances. So I'm very excited. It always brings me so much joy. Lizzie said, I got 17K words in before I restarted it on Thursday, and I feel so much better about the restart. Now I have to rewrite Thanksgiving Madness before I get to all the new parts. That's awesome. That's very cool. Almost nothing in draft one is being used in draft two. The only thing the same is the characters. I even have a new title now. I mean, that honestly, like sometimes it's gotta happen. Sometimes draft one is just not doing it. I've definitely done that many times. Outline the beginning of chapter 5 in OneNote, my new software I use for outlining since I move so many things around. Oh, I haven't used OneNote before. I usually just outline in Word or in Excel, but we were talking about this, Lizzie, before you came. I'm going to start using Notion for outlining too, so that's very exciting. Also, Miranda asked during that sprint about their first line. It was 1942 when the front door of the local New York City's orphanage slammed in front of Jane's face once again. Ooh, this is cool. I think you could maybe make it even stronger by not starting with it was 1942 and just have like the heavy door of the orphanage slammed in Jane's face once again, instead of, because like it was like the using the word like, or saying, telling readers that it was 1942 and also that they're in New York right off the bat before you even introduce the main character seems like maybe a little bit exposition. Like maybe you can find a way to weave in those details, or weave in the fact that it was 1942 based on like weaving in like products or ads or things that would have been happening around your main characters, like in the first couple of paragraphs to set the scene. Or like things that are very like stereotypical to New York at that time. I haven't done a lot of the historical research, but maybe if you can just ground readers, just like have the orphanage door slam, I feel like that could be more powerful, because I think that just in your first line, maybe the other details weigh it down a little bit. But what do the rest of you think? In the comments, let Miranda know what your thoughts are on ways to potentially improve the line. Piper said, I think the title of my book is going to be What's Wrong with Rosehip. That's the name of the town. Ooh, that's cool. That's a cool name for a town. I am obsessed with Schitt's Creek and was watching a lot of Schitt's Creek yesterday, so now all I can think of is like the Rosebud Motel. But Rosehip is cool. It also sounds like it could be the name of a ship. But maybe that's just because hip sounds like ship, and that's just what my brain is going to. That's a cool title, though. I'd be intrigued. I'd pick that book up. Lizzie said, "I will only work on this book during Christmas time. We'll work on draft 3 next year this time." Yeah, no, this is a great, great time to do Christmas stuff. Oh, recommendations. Christmas with Holly. Okay. I'm gonna write these down after or once we start sprinting again. And The Boyfriends of Christmas Past on Hallmark. It's not that cliche and a great movie. Oh, that sounds kind of like The Ghosts of Christmas Past. Like, is that like Christmas Carol esque? Um, that would be cool. Okay, that sounds very up my alley. I'm obsessed, obviously, with Ghost, but also with The Christmas Carol. I love Dickens and all of Dickens, or I love A Tale of Two Cities. That's my favorite Charles Dickens book, but I also like A Christmas Carol. Have any of you ever seen that movie? It's like about Dickens and how he wrote The Christmas Carol, and like there are all those like characters that like he's like sitting in his desk writing, and then like all the characters from the story are like walking around him speaking to him. I'm obsessed with that movie. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but that is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Hi, precious cousins. Thank you so much for coming and sprinting with us this morning. I hope you stick around and do some sprints with us. Lizzie said, I used to outline in Word, but it felt like a chore. And in OneNote, I can make a notebook for a book and have everything in one place. Okay, interesting. I will look into that. I'm still like exploring with different software. I love Excel, but I think I've started noticing that like I usually do plot grids for like drafts 1 and 2 now, but once I do third draft, I usually like go and outline just linearly in Word. Like I just have like one outline that's like every single chapter in one big Word document, which because I think plot grids get to a little bit too intense once most of the plot elements are there. I just need to make smaller changes. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad that you like that idea. I think also like making it sensory or like talking about like the splinters on the door, or, like how heavy the door is and like how the main character is feeling, like how that affects your main character in your first sentence could be cool and draw people in and kind of give people a little bit of a taste of what your main character is like and how that is going to affect them. Um, yes, I agree. That is a cool title. Um, oh, cool. I'm happy that you are all also sharing your opinions. Yes, I love Schitt's Creek. It's my favorite. It makes me feel so good, that show. I was, like, on the couch yesterday, like, wallowing in my post-vaccine body aches and, like, crying over, like, Patrick serenading David at the open mic night. Oh my god, I love that show. Um, oh, that's such a great title. That's a very good title. I really like that title. The old title was Lights That Never Dim. Okay, yeah, I love it, especially if it's a Christmas romance. I would definitely put Christmas in the title. Um, yeah, highly recommend. Because then, I mean, it obviously like then it would brand it as like what kind of book it is right off the bat if people are looking for Christmas romances, or like holiday, like the holiday was very effective branding. Miranda said, I think I'm going to have Jane read the headlines of New York City Gazette so I can have the readers finalize their assumptions of this being New York City and the date. Yeah, I think that that's a good idea. I also think that, like, for historical fiction, advertisements are really big. Like, looking up what kind of ads were plastered everywhere on the year that you're writing in, and then you can, like, mention some of those products, and people will be like, that's not a product that they would be advertising right now, and then they can kind of make the connection. That's another, like, big organic way to bring people into the time. But I don't write historical fiction, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. But from a reader's perspective. Piper said my short story is about a Christmas Eve killer. Ooh, okay, nice. So like the the Grinch, but serial killer can be like a pitch. It can be like it's the Grinch meets Silence of the Lambs. That would be a really intense story. Yeah, but, I mean, I'd probably read it. I'm all for, serial killer stories, and then I'll get nightmares for the next, like, couple of days, even though I can't stop myself. I'm so obsessed with true crime. Oh, yeah. Yes, especially ads and propaganda. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. How are you all feeling about doing our second sprint? I think I want to move it up and maybe do a longer one, especially since we've been chatting for a while. We should probably buckle down and get some work done. How do we feel about doing 25 minutes? Can bump it up to 25 and here I will share the screen. Let's see. Alrighty, cool. So you can bump it up to 25 minutes. I really like these longer sprints with editing, but if anybody has any objections, I don't see any objections. So I think we're going to stick to 25, but I value everybody's opinion. So we are a democracy here and we can choose our times that work best for what we are doing each sprint. All right, so I'm going to start this timer. Happy sprinting, everybody, and happy productivity, and I'll see you after. It gets me every time. My goodness. All right, how was that sprint for everybody? I was not extremely productive during that sprint because I needed to do some research for the section of the book that I'm writing. Um, just like this thing that has to happen is like not incredibly logical, but like it kind of has to happen for the story. So I'm like jumping through all these hoops to try to make it like plausible that this could happen, and make it like actually realistic, at least to the extent that I can. So I'm like going and researching all the like real life like groups that perform kind of like the performance that my characters have to go to, and like trying to figure out where they usually tour, what kind of locations they usually tour, because like I have this vision in my head for what I want it to be, but that's not necessarily how it occurs in real life. So I spent like the last, I think, 10 minutes of that sprint just like stalking a bunch of like um traveling circus groups on Facebook to try to figure out like where they perform and like what audience they usually cater to and that kind of stuff, so that I can rewrite this section of the book with that in mind. So it's actually a little bit like definitely, I mean, not a little bit, but like I want it to be believable and not take people out of the story. So yeah, I would say that it was productive in that sense, but lots of research and stuff, not a lot of words done, but definitely like moving towards what I need this chapter to be. Yeah. No, I am too. It's definitely it jars me out of my writing sprints for sure. Um, Hi writing with Alexa. I'm so glad that you could come and join our sprints. That is very exciting. Outlining is important. Um, what is the social charades about? Let us know in the comments. Piper asked, "What is my book about?" So this is the sequel to the book that I published in October. They Stay was about a girl whose little brother goes missing, and she has to go and find him. And then she ends up like finding out from one of her classmates, who everybody thinks is a little weird because she can see ghosts, that a ghost told her classmate where my main character's brother is. So then my main character has to like decide whether she's going to believe her classmate and like believe in ghosts to find her brother, or if she's going to just continue doing what she was trying to do before to try to find him, which wasn't completely working. And she ends up going on this like crazy, creepy paranormal adventure, to find her little brother. And then the sequel is, I'm not going to like, spoil the events of book one, but it basically continues that story. And it turns out that like this kind of paranormal plot was not just about the missing kids. Like there it was a bigger thing than just that. And so there's like, they kind of realize that it's not over what they were doing before, and they have to stop this kind of bigger evil that is threatening their town. And it has to do with ghosts and opening portals into the ghost world and evil, creepy circuses and circus magic and all that stuff. So they have to go meet a character who knew the villain of book one when they were children. And this character is still performing in like a traveling sideshow, in the present day, because they used to perform like when in the like early 1900s in this traveling sideshow, but this woman still does it in like present modern times in just like a different group doing like different things, more of like stunt performances and stuff. So they have to go there to meet this woman, and they find out all about her and her circus magic and stuff. So that's like the part that I'm working on right now. So I love this part of the book. It's a very exciting part of the book, but I have to like find out all of the details about how this like traveling circus group, how like who is part of it, and how often do they perform, and in what venues do they typically perform, because they probably wouldn't perform in kids carnivals, so how would they be able to go and see this group, and all that kind of logistical stuff. So yeah, that was long-winded, but I love talking about this. Lizzie said, "Finished chapter 5 outline and started chapter 6 outline. We'll get to revising next sprint." Awesome. That's awesome. Outlining is very productive. Miranda said, "I completely rewrote my first paragraph for like the fifth time during the sprint. It's so much better and more realistic." Oh, I'm so glad. That's really, really awesome. I know, Miranda, you asked, or you said during that sprint that you fixed the first line to being, "The front door of the local orphanage slammed in front of Jane's face once again." I really, really like that. I think that that's good. I'm a fan. Very, very cool. That would definitely pull me into the story. Um, you also said I also thought maybe the first line could be a piece of dialogue. So, I have heard that it's typically not a good idea to open a book with a piece of dialogue. I'm pretty sure that I do it though for my manuscript right now, which I think I'm gonna go back and change. Because usually that doesn't like ground readers, especially if it's like the first book in the series. Like it's usually to say like the piece of dialogue after the first line. So what you could always do, oh, and then my only problem is that it is spoken by someone not significant to my story, and it doesn't represent Jane as my main character that much. Yeah, so what I would maybe suggest in that case is starting using the first line that you've already identified, and then maybe putting that line second. So, like, you can say, like, the front door slams in Jane's face, and then, like, the voice of XYZ still rings in Jane's head, like that line of dialogue, and then you can show how it affects Jane so that you can have that element of like the piece of dialogue that you wanted to put in as well as like starting with Jane in paragraph one. So you can do both, and then you wouldn't start your book with dialogue and still include that. I don't know. That's just hearing about it now. That's probably what I would do. Um, but Precious Cousin said that is productive. Some productivity can't be written and typed. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Um, yes, it was definitely productive. I'm happy with it. It has to be done. And I'm just like, I don't know. I have in my head that I want them to like go to a carnival where they can like play games and stuff. Cause like there are a couple of scenes where like they used to like play like ring toss and stuff in between stuff happening with the circus. And I wanted to keep that element of it. But as I'm doing more research, I'm also seeing that like a lot of these groups tailor more to adults and they're like, come and face your fears. And then they'll like go to bars and stuff to perform. Um, but I have this group of teenagers that has to go see them. So I like can't have them be at a venue that cards at the door. So I'm like wondering like maybe they're going to go to some sort of like bar and grill to see this group, but also it'd be cool if it was outside in a tent just to satisfy, my brain who likes the idea of them going and sitting in the bleachers and eating popcorn while seeing this thing up on the stage. I don't know. So I have to like find a way to balance what I want in my imagination and what would actually be realistic. So that research is going to be helpful. I'm going to do more of it next sprint. Lizzie said there will be a Thanksgiving pie eating contest, and the main character will get mad and shove pie into her ex best friend's mouth, and he will end up choking, and she will panic and fall into the food. Oh no! I hope that your MC knows the Heimlich maneuver. Otherwise, that might turn into a very different genre of story very quickly. um, my WIP is about a girl whose mom was murdered 2 Christmases ago, and her dad was arrested last Christmas, so she pushed her 3 guy friends, including her boyfriend, away, and 2 of them are mad. Oh, cool. Yes, I assume from that then her the best friend doesn't die from choking on the pie, which is good and Christmassy, and not too murdery. I don't know where I was going with that. Um, Lizzie said she lives with her aunt, uncle, and cousin, and after a 10-month business catering trip, they're back in town and she has to deal with them and save the school newspaper they work at. Oh, very cool. That sounds very, very cool. Oh, and that's a great plot. I think yours is a great plot. I would absolutely read that. Oh, good morning, good morning, Maddie. Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm so happy that you are able to stop by. I'm actually going to be doing sprints on Maddie's channel this afternoon. Everybody who is watching this, if you want to stop by and sprint with us later, I'm going to be basically doing sprints all day, and I'm very excited about it. So you all should come by, stop by Maddie's channel. You can go over there right now and set a reminder for the sprint happening. I think it's starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time today. So I'm very, very excited. Okay, yeah, so that's terrible advice about the dialogue. I love dialogue in the first line. Yeah, so I mean, this is like people don't really agree on any of this. I mean, like, craft stuff is open to interpretation. I don't personally mind dialogue in the first line as long as like it's explained in the next line who said the dialogue, but I don't know. I typically start my books with a sentence that's not a piece of dialogue, but it really, it depends who you are as a reader. Yeah, see, Lizzie said, I don't like it when dialogue is the first line. It's my personal preference. All of this is personal preference. Like, really, as a writer, what I do at least is I just project my personal preference onto what writing advice I choose to take and not take. Um, So, yeah, some people do and some people don't. Um, the old plot of Lizzie's story used to be about celebrating every holiday before Christmas. The execution was horrible. So it was a Christmas romance where they celebrated every holiday before Christmas. Um, was Christmas involved in the first draft or not? Um, Miranda said, "I love this sentence I just wrote. The voice continued to pound in Jane's memory. You're not welcome here." Oh, yeah, that's cool. I like that. That would be very, very cool. And that would be a really cool next sentence, even to the first line that you wrote before, like how the orphanage door slammed in Jane's face and the voice continued to pound. Those would be a cool first two sentences. And you can incorporate all the stuff that you wanted to in the opening of your story. Awesome. So are we feeling our next sprint? How do we like 25 minutes? Do we want to keep doing 25 minutes? We can go longer. That was a good sprint length for me. I'm happy to do that again. Um, I'm gonna go. I think the timer is already set. Um, Let me share my screen. I'm like on a roll now. I'm so excited to continue this like research and world building. Alrighty. Yes, yes, so everybody come and join the sprints on Maddie's channel this afternoon. It's gonna be really, really fun. I cannot wait to write with everybody. And good, I'm glad 25 is good again. Let's do 25. I am going to mute myself and start the timer. Happy sprinting, everybody. I think I pressed too hard on the button to, stop the timer, and it, like, gave me a definition of the word "stop timer" or something. I don't know if you could all see that. How was that sprint for everybody? As you can see, I got a little cold, and I got a blanket halfway through that sprint. So I'm feeling very good, nice and cozy. Um, yeah, this was a good sprint for me. I finally, like, did enough research to make a decision as to what venue this, like, performance is gonna take place in, so I can kind of start making some revisions to have them actually go there. Even though it's not what I originally imagined for this scene, I think it's still gonna be really creepy, and it makes a little bit more sense logically for, like, how why the parents would even allow them to do this in the first place. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited to get the scene started because it's gonna be a really, really, really big scene in the story. So yeah, I am excited. I think maybe once I like kind of I don't know, I think I might still spend the rest I think we have time for one more sprint after this, so I think that's going to be our last sprint, and I'm going to spend that sprint really trying to make as much progress as I can in this one particular scene, and then during the sprints on Maddie's channel this afternoon, I'm going to focus on setting up Notion and getting all of my like world building stuff all in one place. So I am very excited about that. How was that sprint for you? Let me know in the comments. Lizzie said, copy and pasted some of chapter 5 from the 17K attempt and fix some stuff. I'm watching SpongeBob, so I'm not doing much. Very nice. Yes, I mean it's still productive. Rest is important, and watching TV I still believe is productive as long as it's, normal. Like, I mean, I don't wanna, like, come on here and say, like, maybe spending every single hour of every single day watching TV is productive, but I think watching TV can be very productive if while you're watching TV, you're resting and, like, actually taking care of yourself. Like, I'm able to really, when I watch TV, I don't know, like, it makes me feel good, it makes me be able to rest, it makes me be able to be rejuvenated for when I have to do stuff, in the future. I'm, like, trying to reframe my mind now instead of being, like, really always focused on productivity and doing stuff. I'm trying to also like now think of self-care as productive because I have a really bad habit of not doing that. Because taking care of yourself and doing what you love can also impact or like improve your productivity and being able to write better, which is also what you love. So yes, that made absolutely no sense, but that's a thing that I'm working on personally. Writing with Alexa said the social charades basically is about this competition that happens for 16 to 18-year-olds to make their status higher. The whole world is divided into color sections. Each color has a different rank. Ooh, it's kind of a risk all to possibly win all scenario. Very cool. Okay, so I talked about this last sprint that I did, but I recently listened to this talk, I think by Dr. Jennifer Barnes through the Romance Writers of America, who talks all about like writing for the id and like writing for universal human themes that people gravitate toward. And she's like a psychologist, and she talked about how one of the things that humans just are like just love reading about or just love for some reason is competition. And like that's why, it's one of the reasons sports is such a big thing, why so many people watch sports. And like why books like the Hunger Games or TV shows like The Squid Game always like draw such a big readership is because everybody loves that whole like competition aspect, especially when there's like danger involved, where it is like a risk all to possibly win all scenario. So that's a very, very cool idea. And also, I also believe that like something that is also very satisfying to a lot of people is when people are like divided into, like, color sections, like how you were talking about, or, like, divided into Hogwarts houses, or divided into, like, factions like they are in Divergent, or divided into, districts like they are in Hunger Games. For whatever reason, I just, like I have this little theory that, like, a lot of people really enjoy that kind of, like, "Which house are you?" or "Which like, faction will you be in Divergent? And then they were able to like have some sort of like allegiance to their faction and like have kind of like their group. So I think that that's another thing that like people like reading about, because you find it in a lot of books, and you always have those quizzes related to those books, like which Hogwarts house are you in, and you get to find out. So TLDR, I think that that's a very cool idea. Miranda said, I completely rewrote my second. Oh my God, I cannot talk. I completely rewrote my second paragraph of my first chapter. Towards the end of the sprint, I've been researching advertisements in the 40s. Oh, very cool. I love looking up old advertisements. I think that that's so cool and also really fun. Media attorney said, spent way too much time editing. Hey, that's very productive to be spending time editing. I think that, you can't say you spent too much time editing because it's making the book better. It's productive. Piper said it was a very productive sprint for me. Yay, I'm so glad. That's awesome. I'm having Jane step on advertisements that blew onto the street so I can give the reader more clues about the time period of my story. Awesome. Oh, that's a good idea. And that's a very like active way to be able to drop clues. Maddie said, read a solid paragraph of Dawn Comes the Night and made coffee. That is extremely productive. Reading is productive. Making coffee is productive. I can't do anything unless I have my coffee. I think at the beginning of our last sprint, I'm going to go get a little bit more because I'm addicted. Lizzie said, I don't really watch TV or have any hobbies outside of writing and journaling, so it's nice. Well, I watch TV. That is my hobby outside of writing. Can you call watching TV a hobby? Not sure, but it is. Writing with Alexis said, I love the Hunger Games. Yes, I do too. I love the Hunger Games. I love Squid Game. I love all of those like competition type shows. I'm very, very addicted to them. Even though like every time I find them, like I was so obsessed with the Hunger Games. All I did was obsess about the Hunger Games, I think for like a couple of years in middle school, and like just like look at fan art and read fan fiction and write fan fiction. And then like when Squid Game came out and I watched that, like I could not stop thinking about it. I binged it all so quickly. There's still like I think about that show like very frequently, like multiple times a week. I was like, oh, I can't believe that happened. That was crazy. And then I got my dad hooked on it, so I rewatched the entire thing when he watched it. So that was also fun. I don't know. Yeah, I love competition shows. Yes, coffee. Coffee is the best. Yeah, I'm a huge movie person. I absolutely love watching movies. I just don't have time to watch a lot of them. Like I will watch TV, often like a podcast. Like I will at the end of the day, I'll watch an episode of TV, or at like during lunch, I'll watch some TV, just as a way to kind of like decompress, and it's like part of self-care. And then, as I'm brushing my teeth and like I can't sit on the couch in front of the TV, I'll have it on my phone, and I will like watch shows that I've already seen, like a podcast. Like I'll watch Schitt's Creek on my phone, like I am like listening to it. It's yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I do enjoy it. And I also like, but I can't watch new shows like that because otherwise I'll miss things, because like my phone screen is small, and like I don't know, like I couldn't do that with Squid Game because otherwise I would miss a lot of stuff. But with like comedy shows like Parks and Rec or Schitt's Creek, like it's a lot of, they're all talking all the time, so you can really just listen to their voices and it's just as funny. Lizzie said, writing is the only thing I usually do, that and watching old talent show videos no one knows about. Yeah, I usually like, I spend a lot of time writing. Obviously, it's my favorite thing to do. Um, I think writing is my thing. That's like, I don't know. I have other, like, I like crocheting. I think crocheting is really fun. I also like walk dogs. I do a lot of like dog stuff. But I don't really have time for hobbies outside of that. And I don't crochet that often anymore. I need to be a little bit better about that. But I'm definitely like working on a better work-life balance. And taking care of myself and not spending all of my time writing, because I'm working from home and I find it really hard to separate, work time from relaxation time when everything happens in the same space. Like it's not like when you leave the office, like you can stop working and disconnect from it. It's like if you work from home, you are there, in your workspace all the time, and you have to find other ways to differentiate those things. So I'm playing around with like actual time schedules now, like between these hours it is my work time, and between these hours it isn't. but I love writing. Writing is absolutely my thing. Yeah, exactly. Writing can be your thing. Yeah. There you go. And it is absolutely okay if it's your only thing. Writing is my only thing too. But like, there shouldn't be any pressure to like come up with more things. It's like it's just whatever makes you happy. You just fill your days with stuff that makes you happy. And if you want to add another thing, then add another thing. But if you don't want to add another thing, there's nothing wrong with having one thing that you really love. So do what makes you happy. I wanna crochet. Is it easy? I've been wanting to make my own jigsaw doll for a long time. Oh, wow, that is really expensive. I love crocheting. I think it's pretty easy, because it's really at least for the crocheting that I do, so I do, like, I don't know if this is how you say it, but like the amigurumi crochet where like you do the small kind of doll type animals and creations, the like really like cute ones. And for most of those, that's just like one stitch that you do, just kind of over and over again. And then you do like different counts as you go around in a circle. Like if you're gonna like make a head of a doll, like you have to kind of increase the stitch count and then you maintain the stitch count and then you decrease the stitch count. So it's not a ton of different stitches you have to learn, unless you like. I crocheted a Christmas stocking last year, and that was just a different stitch, but it was the same base. You just did it a couple of different times. I find it easy. I really enjoy it. It does hurt my hands because it's a lot of, like, kind of fine motor stuff, just like typing is. So, doing that and typing can kind of hurt my wrists a little bit, but I don't know, I think it's really easy to learn. I don't think that it's very hard to learn because it's very repetitive, and I think that it's so rewarding when you can, like, create something really cute and then you can hold it and you're like, "I made this!" So, yeah. That is really expensive for a crocheted doll, though. How big is the jigsaw doll that would be $800? That seems a little excessive for a crocheted doll. Yeah, I haven't seen Saw. Saw is too scary for me. I can't deal with body horror stuff, so any of, like, the body torture stuff is just too gross to me. I can't watch it. Nope. I, like, found out what happens in Saw and still got nightmares even though I didn't see it, I just read about it, so yeah. Nope, not for me. Anyway, on that note, shall we start another sprint? Do we wanna do yeah, let's how about we do a 25-minute sprint so that we can be done, at a reasonable like, right before 12:30, and we can chat for just a couple of minutes and then stop because I have to eat lunch before starting the afternoon sprints at 1 o'clock. So or I mean, how about we do alright, let's bump it up to 30 minutes actually, um, because that'll still give us enough time to be done right before 12:30. Awesome. Okay, so I am going to share my screen once again. Um, cool. Good luck, everybody. Happy writing, happy productivity. And I will see you after this final sprint. Alrighty. How was that sprint for everybody? That one was really productive for me. I finally kind of was able to get into the groove and like actually get and dig into the scene a little bit. I'm really excited about this location that I've chosen, and I think that it's like realistic and also creepy, and also gonna like serve as a very cool contrast for any story that I write, kind of like going back in time as to like what the circus used to look like before like the present day. So I'm very excited about that. um, yes, we love this timer. This is, as I mentioned before, the new staple on Right with Claire Frey's live streams. Thank you so much, Piper. I am very excited about it too. How was that for all of you? Did you accomplish your goals for the sprint? I hope that you were able to get a lot done this morning, whatever and however that looks for you. I'm very, very grateful to everybody who was able to join me today. I had a lot of fun hanging out with you all and writing with you all. Yeah, I don't know. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. Writing is life. Yes, I agree. Hi, Michaela. I'm glad that you were able to jump in for that last sprint. I'm sorry that we are not going to continue, but I am going to be going and hopping onto some live streams this afternoon. And I'm sure that there are a bunch of other author tubers who are hosting streams today. Um, Hit 10K. Oh, awesome. That's awesome, Lizzie. Edited to the part where the ex-boyfriend love interest says, I love you in a way that means you're funny, and now they're both flustered. Oh, this actually happened to a friend of mine once. I remember um, the boy that she liked said that to her, and I remember her calling me afterwards being like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. It was a big drama. It's always so awkward when it like slips out accidentally and you don't even like really know in what context it means. Good to know no one has choked on pie yet. Very good. Miranda said, my sprint went well, found great advertisements, images, and newspaper articles for my book. Yay, that's awesome. Very, very cool. That's very productive. I hope that you had fun doing that. I always love doing that. Me, oh, yes, I'm so happy. Thank you so much for coming, media attorney, to these sprints. Thank you all for coming. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. For coming and hanging out with me. It makes me so happy when I get to see familiar faces in the comments and we all get to hang out together and write together and chat. It's so much fun. It brings me so much joy. I should Yes, I do. I mean, I've been doing them. I think I've been doing them for the past 3 weeks every Saturday, which is kind of a lot for me. I've never done them that much, but as long as you all continue coming, I may continue doing them more often. I really do enjoy them too. I really, really, really love them. And Saturdays are also good times for me. It's a really like good way to kick off the weekend. So I'm glad that it works for you, Miranda. And thank you so much for coming and writing with me. Um, Maddie said, I went back to my journaling project because the ADHD is strong. Yes, I will see you soon. I will see you in just half an hour. If you all want to write more this afternoon or, do more sprints, head on over to Maddie's channel because we're going to be doing holiday sprints over there this afternoon, which is going to be really fun. Piper said, sorry, I won't be able to make it to your afternoon live stream. I had fun writing with you. Oh, I had so much fun writing with you too. Thank you so much for coming. I will see you next time. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you so much for coming. I think I'm going to end this stream now, but I will be announcing when my next ones are soon. I think I have to set a schedule for January because I'm going to be on vacation from January 1st through the 10th. So I might schedule a stream for the Saturday after the 10th, but I haven't announced anything. I will keep everybody posted. Right now I'm just like focused on holidays and I'll regroup in the new year for all of this stuff. So yes, we'll figure it out. But it was so nice to see everybody. Have a really, really wonderful rest of your Saturday, and I will see you all later. Happy writing, everybody. Bye.